I'm Daniel Goleman, and I'm the author of Emotional Intelligence. I've written lots about leadership and emotional intelligence in the Harvard Business Review and in books. And most recently, Focus, the Hidden Driver of Excellence, which is about the three kinds of focus that leaders need, that we all need. And I'm really delighted to be here with my old friend Bill George, who's now a professor at the Harvard Business School, for many years was the CEO of Medtronic, and who has himself done really pioneering, cutting-edge work in developing leaders and helping leaders themselves develop the kind of focus that they need to be authentic leaders. Bill, I'm very pleased to be able to talk to you about my own work on focus, and particularly the three kinds of focus that I think are essential for leaders. There was a recent Harvard Business Review article about it, and I amplify it and expand that in the book. But I drew on your work in writing the book in the first place, and I did because what you're doing resonates so much with what I'm seeing. And I argue that there are three kinds of focus a leader needs. There's an inner focus, being able to know what's going on inside yourself, and this you need to have for authentic leadership. You need to have it for mastering your inner world, for leading yourself. The second is a focus on other people, different kinds of empathy, and I'd love to explore that with you. And the third is a wider focus, an outer focus on the ecosystem in which your organization operates and how that's shifting and what that means. So let's go into those each one by one. In inner focus, I look at the varieties of attention and how each one of them matters. But really what I'm trying to do is help people develop a meta-awareness, an awareness of awareness itself. And you have some very interesting methodologies for helping leaders and future leaders do that. Could you tell us a bit about your work in authentic leadership?
Well, let me just say first, Dan, I think you've got it in the right order. The inner focus, the outer focus, the other focus, and then looking at the larger world around you. Why do I say that? Because some people would say the inner focus is egotistical. I think just the opposite. Most business leaders I know are incredibly focused, but they're focused on their business goals. They're inside, they're a mess because they don't take time to get clarity about what it is they're trying to do and who they are. And I think one cannot be a good leader until one has a real depth of awareness of who you are and what you're about. Otherwise, you're just chasing your tail, so to speak. And what we try to do in all the work I'm doing, authentic leadership development, which I teach at Harvard Business School for about 3,500 MBAs, executives, young global leaders go through this program. And it's remarkable because most of these people have never gone through the sense of deep inner awareness and gaining that sense of focus and awareness. And I think there's ways one gets awareness that are really important. You know, you can say we should all be self-aware. 4,000 years ago, the Oracle of Delphi told us, know thyself. But we don't know ourselves because we don't spend any time on knowing ourselves. And we're so outwardly oriented. We take feedback so directly, we don't really think about that sense of who we are. People ask me, how do I gain self-awareness? How do I learn who I am? And I tell them there's two essential things one has to do. I think you must have some form of introspective or reflective practice. And don't tell me you're too busy working 16 hours a day to take 20 minutes twice a day to sit and reflect. I've been a meditator since 1975.
But you've been a very busy executive during all those years too.
I sure have, and taking that time out has been essential to my success. Before that, I was a wreck. I was just chasing everything, 25, 50 objectives all at once, no sense of clarity. And when I meditate, I get a sense of what's really important. I can separate the wheat from the chaff. And I come out of it with a sense of clarity. Here are the 3 or 4 things that I really need to go focus on. But I also get a much deeper sense of what I'm about and who I am, and a sense of well-being and tranquility. Without that sense of well-being and a sense of feeling good about yourself, if you feel bad about yourself and if ghosts are chasing you from your past, you can't really be effective as a focused leader. So I think that's an essential element of anyone. Now, it doesn't have to be meditation. It could be prayer. It could be talking with a loved one in great depth like I do with my wife Penny. It could be going for a jog and clearing your head. It could be taking a long walk. I happen to like meditation, but I'm not saying that's the only way. But the second thing I think one needs to do is get honest, authentic feedback from colleagues who know you well enough and you trust to give you honest feedback, to have a courageous conversation coming to you.
Where do you find such people?
Well, I have a support group. I've had a men's group. Same year, 1975, formed a men's group. It still exists all these years later. And we meet once a week, Wednesday morning, 7:15 to 8:30. There are 8 of us. Typically there's 6 or 7 of us there. People are out of town. I'm missing a lot because I'm teaching a lot those times. But nonetheless, it's an essential group. And we have gone through death. We've gone through spouse death. We've gone through life-threatening illness, losing our jobs, retiring, all kinds of things. So we're like a band of brothers. And we also have a couples group. So it's not just having a single gender group. We have 8 of us. And we've traveled all over the world together. But we're there for each other. But we also know when somebody tells you directly, Bill, here's how I see you, that helps me get through my blind spots. Every one of us has blind spots. I used to say to my wife, Penny, into my 40s I was saying, I don't have any blind spots. Oh yes. I was so blind I couldn't see, I didn't know I had blind spots. But getting that helps me see, how am I coming across to you? It's hard for me to read how I'm coming across to you. And you really can't be aware of your situation until you know how you're being received by people. What is it good to give a speech